What's good, YouTube family? It's your boy SCraftBlendz back again with another barber tutorial, and today we have my man JJ in the chair. And you may have seen JJ before in another video, but he had really long curly hair on top. And last time I cut his hair, after a few years of growing it out, he decided he wanted to cut the top off. Then he changed his mind this time and was like, I made a big mistake, so I want to grow it back out. So we're not going to take anything off the top. We're going to continue to let that grow and just get long and curly, and then we're going to tighten up the sides. So we're going to end up doing a zero fade, kind of like a half shadow fade, whatever you want to call it, on the side, with a little low taper on the side and in the back. But right now I'm starting off with a number 3 open and number 3 closed in the parietal ridge area, just kind of flicking into that top, not really messing with that top too much. Now I'm going in with a 2.5 or a 2 guard open rather, and just blending into that number 3, and then we'll close that number 2 up and just blend right into that 2 open. I'm being very careful in this area due to cutting his hair before. I know right in the area that I'm at, right where it's kind of, you can see like almost a line where it goes from light to dark. That's a significant dip that he has there. And anytime I cut into that dip, I always have problems. So I've learned to kind of stay away from that. And that's why I kept it fuller with that 3 and that 2 in that area. And now I have a 1.5 guard on there, and I'm going 1.5 into the 2. It's a 1.5 open blended into the 2, and then I'll close that 1.5 guard and blend into that 1.5 open. Once again, we're doing a fade down technique, and this is the technique I use most, and I've had several people ask me to do more fade down technique videos, and being this is what I do probably with almost every haircut except for the ones that I do in tutorials where people are asking me to fade up. This is what I do, so I figured I'd record it. So being we did the 3 in the parietal ridge, then we did the 2 open into the 3, the 2 close into the 2 open, and then we dropped down and did the 1.5 open into the 2 and the 1.5 close into the 1.5 open. Now we're going to go ahead and do a number 1 open, blending into that 1.5 closed, and then we'll close the number 1 and just blend into that 1 open. It's a very simple process. I think the main challenge that people have is knowing where to put the guidelines, and ultimately, because there are no guidelines, so ultimately you're just dropping down a little bit. So wherever you start at in the parietal ridge area, you just drop down a little bit lower with a lesser guard, then you keep dropping down, until you get it to the desired length. And the desired length that we want to do today is the guard I just put on, and that is a 0 guard. And I'm using my Wall Seniors. However, I do have the modified bracket on there with the Andis Master blade, and so that I could use the purple guards. So with that being said, I have the 0 open right now, and now I'm just kind of using this to kind of create a little shape. Now that we're getting a little tighter on the head, I'm going to use that to create a little shape. And what I mean by that is now I can kind of drop it down in the front and just kind of give it that half moon shape. So if you look right now, I'm fading a little bit lower in the back, and I'm kind of dropping it in the back, and I was dropping it in the front in the fade area. Now I'm closing it, and I'll just go ahead and fade right into that 0 open. Now, as you'll see, I'm coming in different directions, simply because his hair is so curly. When it gets longer, it comes out at the root in different directions, and if you look right over the ear, it almost looks like waves there, because all the hair is going back. So I have to go against the grain over his ear, which is actually going forward towards his eye. So once we, clean that off to the best of our ability and have a good foundation that we can come back in later and clean up with shear over comb or blending shear over comb or whatever we decide to use, now we'll go ahead and move into this, creating his lineup. So in the back, I did cut into his lineup a little bit. He has a very thick natural edge in the back. I don't like it that way. Some people are like, hey, don't take anything off the edge. You got to keep it where it's at. I disagree. And like, I just posted a picture on Instagram that said breaking all the rules. And I said that because anytime I do a really high taper, people are like, you can't do that. And I want to know where the manual is, man. I've been cutting hair for 28 years and I've never seen the rule book that says that you can and cannot do certain things when cutting hair. So I just don't want people to define my reality. I get to do that myself. And if I like it and my customer likes it, then I'm cool with it. So I just say, hey, have creative freedom, do what you want. So for me in the back, if you ever look at my cuts, I like them to kind of come in a little bit and be a little bit sharper. I don't go in too much on his simply because he does have a really thick one and I don't want all that overgrowth whenever it starts growing out. However, I do clean it up some, and I did the same on the front, keeping the front as natural as possible because I do want to keep a thicker, kind of front there. And then I came in, put a bald guideline, and then, so I'll fade down, but then whenever I get down to the blending part of the blowout or the taper, that's when I fade up from there. So I put in that guideline with my clippers, and then I went in with an open blade, and then I start closing that blade as needed to blend out that line. And because I created another little line with that open blade, now just come back in with my zero guard. And, I might open it or I might close it depending on whatever's needed. And I just, kind of tie that in together. With people who are concerned about the virus and they want to make sure they keep the mask on, or their parents want them to keep the mask on, I just tell them to hold the mask over their face and, so I can have some freedom to cut where I need to cut. So now that we got that good foundation on the other side, still not done with it. We're going to come back in and do some cleanup work with shear over comb. Now I'm going to do the same exact process in the back and on the other side. So I went in with my 3 guard, then 2 open into the 3, drop down a little bit, 2 close into the 2 open, and then the 1 open into the 2, and so on and so forth until I get down to the 0 guard, and I'll do the 0 open like I'm doing now, and then 0 closed. And see, I didn't have any guidelines, but I wanted it to drop in the back and be a little bit fuller towards the top. So I just simply, go in that direction with my guards. As I change guards, I just drop a little bit lower than I did on the side. And in that angle right behind the ear there, that ties the back to the sides, I just slant my position of how I'm holding the clipper, where I'm fading. I slant down a little bit, and just in my mind, I have guidelines, so I just follow the guidelines in my mind instead of the ones on his head, right? So I'll do that, and then I'll come back in a little bit later and clean it up with the shear over comb. In the back, we're doing there again the same exact process we did on the side, and we'll do that all around the head. I've told you guys before that I actually don't cut in sections like this unless I'm videoing, and the only reason I do that is simply because I don't want to keep adjusting the camera. Usually I'll do 1 guard all the way around the head, and then whenever I change guards, I'll do that one all the way around the head until I'm all the way down. Then I'll come in and just do the taper and line it up. So now we went ahead and set our guideline for the bald taper in the back, and I did give it a nice curve shape to it, just like I did on the side. And the reason I did that is simply because I want to have a good high taper, but also want to keep the lines nice and pronounced on the back edge on each side. So if you curve it like this, you can get a nice high taper in the back, but also still keep those sharp lines on the edge in the back as well. So I went in with the open blade, and usually I will create a guideline, but being we did a 0 blade, I just went ahead and tried to flick as much as I could into that 0 guard with the open blade, so that I wouldn't have to put another guard on. Didn't work out as planned, so I do have to put the guard back on to tap out some stuff, but at least I knocked down some of that bulk and got the majority of it blended as much as I needed to use that guard. And once I go up and do that open blade, then I just close the blade as needed, and working my way down towards that line to blend that line out. So now, being I'm using the Gamma Ergos, I can use the wall guards on there. So I really like using that half guard on the Ergos to knock out any lines between the open blade and the 0 guard that I use for for the actual fade part. So I love my seniors with that Andis blade on there, but sometimes, man, it is hard to tie in completely that open blade and that 0. So having another clipper, that does have like a, like this Ergo that has a regular blade that can take wall guards, it's good to have around just to throw that half guard on there to knock out any little spots or dark lines that we see. So now just kind of doing some detail work on the bottom there, getting that blended in. Now we're going to do the same exact thing on this side. However, we are going to put a line, like a curved line on this side, a little curved part. It's not a part, obviously, that, it's like not like a comb over part, but we're going to throw a little line in the side of this and give it a little curve so it has some kind of style to it. And we'll clean that up. And usually what I like to do, sometimes I'll do the whole fade, then add the line. Or, if I want to keep it thicker on top of the line and tighter underneath the line, then I'll go ahead and, do my number 3 and then do my number 2, maybe even the 1.5. And then when I get down to like a 1.5, then I'll go ahead and throw a part in there, or a design or whatever. And usually whenever I do designs, I like to do my designs on a really clean canvas. And to me, the best canvas to do designs on is a number 1. So if I'm going to do designs, usually I want to take everything down to a 1 that I'm going to be putting the design on, and then I'll do that. But here we're not doing a design, we're just doing a part. So I went ahead and just added a cool little curve there, just to give them a little flavor to the haircut, get him looking right for school and everything. Even though he is doing online school, he can still look good for Zoom, you know what I mean? So anyways, so I come in first and I just put the line in lightly, and then I come back in and just kind of make sure I comb those hairs down and tap the hairs on the top line, and then I'll come in and lightly touch the bottom line to make sure we clean both sides of the line to get a nice clean part. And if you're doing designs or parts of any kind, if you're cutting any lines in, you want to keep them thinner, not too big, unless, there again, you want to break the rules, and that's okay. Sometimes I do. But you do want to clean both sides of the line, just so whatever you do, it looks sharp. So now I'm just going to fade up to that line, and I want to kind of keep it tighter underneath the line because I like a little contrast. Whenever I put lines in like this, a lot of times I want that contrast, so I'll do dark above the line and then tighter or lighter above the line, just to kind of let that line be that dividing line where it goes from dark to light. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to have the open 0 pretty much up to that line, then I'll close that 0 and fade into that as well. And sometimes I see little dark spots, so I might have to tap at that with a closed 0 just to get out any lines. There again, keeping the C cup nice and full, keeping it like right there at his natural hairline, and then doing the little half moon shape there. You know, we're coming in now and just tapering it all in. And I did that with the open blade and then close it as needed, and had to come back in with that zero guard to try to take that line out. Line still wasn't out, so came back in with the open blade, flicking at it using corners and just trying to erase that line that we created. Hey guys, let me know if there's anything else that you guys would like to see. Obviously, I have a set clientele. I'm not taking any new clients, so the clientele I have is the clientele I cut for the rest of forever, unless, you know, they die or something, you know, or they move and then I add to it. But I cut the same people all the time. And so I may have to start just cutting people just for YouTube, come in on my day off or something and take care of those people, to give you something different. So if there is something different you would like to see, man, let me know. You know, I'll try to do the best I can to get that for you. The only time I really get to record something new with my clients is if they do a new haircut. So as you can see on his front edge, it is a very unique edge. See right there, it's really light back there where his natural edge should be, but a lot of hair grows on his forehead. So I have to try to create that edge for him. And what I like to do is to kind of, when I need to create a lineup that kind of looks natural, see right there where the bottom of my trimmer was pointing towards his eyebrow, you can see the point of his eyebrow. I kind of move over towards the ear about a quarter to a half inch and go straight up, and that's where I make my guideline, you know, for that front edge. And then I come in with Tomb 45 shave gel and just clean up all of that hair. We want it to be nice and tight. And now just coming in, doing some detail work with the shear over comb and just trying to tie this blend together. He has very coarse hair. It's very, very thick, man. It's very thick. So so I just try to come in and tie all of that together, you know, to make it blend as good as possible. And one of the challenges that we have is we want the bottom of the fade, the real tight portion, to be real blurry, and a lot of times we work on making that really blurry and we forget about the dark part towards the top. We also want that to be symmetrical, all flowing together, but we want it to blend well into the shorter hairs as well, and that can be a challenge. As you can see right there, I just was looking on the side of the head, and I do that. I usually look all the way around the head, see if there's any long hairs poking out, and I'll just cut them off. But I slowed the video down just a little bit because I know a lot of people ask about my detailing with the shears, and I just kind of wanted to show you what I do. I really like to focus on dark spots. If I see any dark spots, I come in with the tips of my shears usually and just tap at any little dark spots I see to kind of give it a better blend. And I could sit here and do this for hours, honestly, to try to perfect it. But honestly, because I know that I don't have hours, I got to try to move. But here we are, man. We didn't touch the top, really didn't want to cut into it so we can keep it fuller. But we tightened up the bottom so that way he could just let the top grow. That's the finished cut, guys. I hope you liked it. Hey, if you're not following me on Instagram, follow me at S.Craft_blends. And hit that like and subscribe button here on YouTube. And until next time, God bless you guys, man. We'll see you later. Peace.